What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call a man a freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut in the ocean. What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call a man a freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion. Yeah, I feel like an astronaut. She says that I'm cool. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I believe in G.O.D. Don't believe in T.H.O.D. She keep playing me down. I'ma play her for fun. Don't really know my mental. Hi, this is John Cullen. Welcome to another episode of Web of Deception. I'm joined once again by Jason Goodman. Jason, thanks for joining me. Exciting episode we have queued up here, episode number 19. Of the Web of Deception series. Last week we did the Lawfare episode, which was kind of mind-blowing, I have to tell you. I mean, I wasn't even prepared for that. That was kind of wild. And this week, if you want to take a look at that thumbnail, if you don't mind, and kind of walk everybody through who we're featuring in this week's show. This is not Red Castle. This is General Flynn and his Army Corps of Social Engineers, not the Army Corps of Engineers. So we won't be building any roads. This is the Army Corps of Social Engineers, and you've got a number of characters here in the thumbnail, including General Flynn. Can you give us sort of an overview of sort of what are we going to be talking about in this show, and who are these characters in the thumbnail?
Well, this, of course, is the Ginger Frankenstein. You're going to recognize the bolts in his neck.
So he's the only one I recognize, actually. So Patrick Byrne was the founder of Overstock, is that right? Overstock.com, and he sold the company for a fortune, right? Who ended up buying the company? Was it Mayfair or Amazon or somebody?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's just do a quick thing. So Patrick Byrne, I think, was the founder of Overstock.com, sells the company, I think, to Amazon or Mayfair or something like that, and should have cashed out for quite a bit, right?
There's a big story with him on Overstock.com and how he got in and out of it, because, and that goes to what we're going to be talking about tonight for sure, because, he had this whole issue where he started going on Fox and, saying that he had evidence about Hillary Clinton, and then everybody thought he was crazy, and he had to kind of, quit. It's interesting to see what George's brother is in the comments about. He's talking about Patrick Berge, who, that's another guy we should probably be doing some episodes about in the future, because he came to me first before he started interacting with George and his brother and all kinds of other social engineers. But that's Berge. It's just interesting, like I said, to see what our friend Stupid Mario is doing in the comments there.
All right, well, let's not worry about him. Let's worry about the show that we planned and not let him derail it. So you've got Patrick Byrne, who takes over. It looks like he's not the founder of Overstock. He takes over the company, right?
Yeah,
it says he took over the company and changed the name. And then I'm curious, can you do a quick search on Overstock?
Wait, let's just focus on that for a second, because that's interesting. Started in 1997 by Robert Brazel and originally called D2 Discounts Direct. It was an online seller of surplus merchandise, which up until its failure in 1999 was taken over by Patrick Byrne, who changed the name to Overstock.com. The company went public in 2002 and achieved profits in 2009, reported its first billion-dollar year in 2010. So he's another one of these tech billionaires.
Right, but I'm curious about the acquisition. I want to know who bought it. Oh, Bed Bath. No. So they bought Bed Bath & Beyond. Let's see. If Judge approves Overstock's purchase of Bed Bath & Beyond in 2023, but that's after he sold the company.
Because they went bankrupt. They're buying the bankruptcy of Bed Bath and Beyond. Well, let's just take a look. So, who acquired Overstock? These are good questions, even though it might seem like we're not getting to the point, because it's, we don't know all the, It just says Bed Bath & Beyond, formerly known as Overstock.com. What? Acquired the brand.
Interesting.
So Overstock acquired Bed Bath & Beyond, and they figured, hey, let's take over that brand name, I guess. This is a whole separate thing to investigate. Yeah. What?
All right, but he is a key player here in the Michael Flynn circle. And if you simply go to Wikipedia and you look up Patrick Byrne, you're going to see a very interesting name is going to pop up that might actually be on the thumbnail. And so I think that's important. So this kind of sets it up and starts to weave the web. So
that's where I got his Frankenstein picture from.
Okay, so right from the Wikipedia page, if you look in the first paragraph, he eventually resigned as CEO in August of 2019 during Crimson Contagion, following revelations that he'd been in an intimate relationship with Russian agent Maria Butina. And I'm sure you're going to tell us a little about Maria Butina and who she is and her role in this thing.
Right. She's not in tonight's thumbnail, but, this is not the first time we've discussed the Ginger Frankenstein. We spoke about Maria Butina last time we spoke about these guys. The reason why I've got the Ginger Frankenstein in tonight's thumbnail is because, people who have been following on X, the X Twitter, the platform formerly known as Twitter, if it was Prince, I was going kind of viral this week with this interview with Felix Sater in the park. I was down at the trial speaking to Andrew Giuliani, and I was telling him that, looking at all this public domain evidence, it occurs to me that I believe Michael Cohen is an FBI UCO. And again, when I use that term, John, UCO means undercover operator. I read it in a lawsuit, United States, a criminal action, United States versus Adam Dean Fox. And in that, his lawyer is cross-examining these FBI agents about the use of undercover operatives. Now, that's a very technical, specific type of position or whatever. Maybe he's a CHI, a confidential human informant. But when I say he's an FBI UCO, I'm just saying in general, this guy is working for the FBI or some secretive capacity or something, in my opinion, based on the evidence I've seen in the public domain. And that includes an agreement, a cooperation agreement, that guy in the hat that I'm talking to there in the park signed with Andrew Weissman. And that cooperation agreement was signed in 1998. Let me just get it for us here. Felix Sater cooperation agreement. This was signed in 1998 between Felix Sater and Andrew Weissman. And there's a couple of important things that Sater said during our conversation in the park. We were speculating before as to whether or not Felix Sater actually knew and had interacted in any way with Valerie Caproni. So this says 98CR, it's 1998, criminal case 1101. And the thing is, this is signed between Felix Sater and the supervising assistant U.S. attorney, Andrew Weissman. Here's Felix Sater right here. This is signed December 10th, 1998. And viewers will recall that Valerie Caproni left her position as the head of the organized crime unit in the Eastern District for New York U.S. Attorney's Office just about 2 months before this, in September 1998. But I asked Felix Sater a couple of pointed questions, and obviously, this should be obvious, but he's confirmed it now. The head of the Organized Crime Division was aware of him and was aware of the negotiations that ultimately led to this agreement. So my speculation here is, I believe, and even more today, John, than when I spoke to Andrew Giuliani outside the court, I've seen now even more evidence in the public domain that further corroborates the speculation that Michael Cohen is an undercover FBI operative, and there seems to, in fact, be some connection to Felix Sater. Now, the reason, to go back to your earlier question, the reason the Ginger Frankenstein is here in the thumbnail today, not only because he's in the orbit of Michael Flynn, but Patrick Byrne, he's got this blog called like Deep Capture, I think. Are you aware of that?
No.
Yeah. He's got a blog called Deep Capture. So part of what was going on when he was involved in Overstock.com, he's like a serious enemy of naked short selling, which I don't really know what that is. I'm not qualified to explain that to people, but I believe it has something to do with kind of like borrowing the stock without actually having the money to pay for it and trying to short a stock in some kind of crazy way. So Patrick Byrne, was fighting all this naked short selling with, I don't know what, some kind of crypto, whatever, computer stuff. And Felix Sater is somehow, oh, wait a minute. It says 0 posts here on Deep Capture about Felix Sater. But what's interesting is we need to talk about this woman, Julie Lewis, who does have a lot of posts on her Felix Sater research blog here, which she does have Patrick Byrne posts about Felix Sater.
All right, now, for people that didn't see the episodes that we did in the past where we talked about Felix Sater, can you give them sort of the high level as to why he's such an important character in the Donald Trump Russia discussion? Like, why is he such a key player? Why is he not a pawn and he's more of a bishop or a knight or a rook? Explain that to people if you would.
Yeah, because he was the developer, the real estate developer, who was putting together the Trump Tower Moscow deal. And he testified before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and that testimony was used by Robert Mueller. And
what was the gist of his testimony? What did he kind of give us the synopsis of what he said on the stand?
He basically told them that he had been an intelligence operative. We'd have to go back and review his testimony. I might be conflating testimony from different things, but he was basically saying that he didn't really say anything against Trump, but we really do need to study his testimony before the Intelligence Committee because it was quite a controversial bit of testimony. He was the only one to not go to Washington, D.C. Testimony. He's the only one who didn't go to Washington, D.C., and they also...
whoa. Was there a school trip? I mean, I don't understand. What's the context? He's the only one who didn't go to Washington, D.C. amongst whom? Who did go and
So
who
here's
didn't go?
53 transcripts for the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. And there was a whole big dust-up where, these people went to Washington, D.C. to testify. I guess there were some exceptions that happened over Zoom. But Felix Sater, they came to New York. And he also kind of like delayed it one day. There was just a lot of controversy about this. And then he was on the news saying that he's cooperating, and they made the rare, move of coming forward and saying, wait, no, he's not, didn't cooperate. And so he's kind of like this very...
But he's doing a George Stephanopoulos interview, so yeah. I'm sure he's spilling the beans in that one, I'm sure. Yeah. All right, so he's a key character because he was at one point trying to do a development with Donald Trump in Moscow for a Trump Tower Moscow.
Yeah, and let's look at his testimony for a second. Here's his testimony.
Do it.
He says he's Felix Sater. He's 51 in 2017 when this is happening. Talks about he immigrated to the United States to escape persecution in the Soviet Union at the age of 7. And he grows up in Brooklyn. He started at Bear Stearns on Wall Street. and he's kind of like a boiler room stockbroker guy. At the age of 25, he's in a bar fight and he stabs a guy in the face. And so there's this sort of gray period there from the time of this incident in 1991, I believe it was, where he's arrested and he's going to be interacting with the Eastern District of New York and these various different offices. But we don't really know exactly what happens until he signs this agreement in 1998. But he says his cooperation for more than 20 years after he signs that agreement goes into how he's helping the government find Osama bin Laden, and he got Osama bin Laden's satellite phone number. I discussed this with him. He goes into some details here. He's masking who this is. Milton C. something with a B, and it's redacted. His cooperation with the U.S.
Milton Berle. Uncle Milty.
No, we should try to figure out who this is, because he's saying his cooperation with the U.S. government began when he met a gentleman named Milton C., oddly redacted here. And he disclosed to him that he works for the Defense Intelligence Agency. So obviously that's what Michael Flynn was the director of. And so if Felix Sater is, if first, he's telling us it's the DIA. So a couple things don't make sense to me as a result of that, which he reiterated in the park. They really, really want you to know that he works for the DIA. So my question is, the Defense Intelligence Agency, as I understand it, it's Army intelligence. Here's its webpage. It's .mil. This is a U.S. military agency, Defense Intelligence Agency.
What the hell is glossophobia? Are they putting on a concert? What's the matter with these guys? A comic book?
Comic book. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been to this website before.
Yeah, we're giving them too much.
But my point is, this is the Defense Intelligence Agency. This is U.S. Army intelligence. And, Flynn, he's an Army general, retired from the U.S. Army. So, I mean, if Felix Sater is working for this, and then what is he doing signing agreements with Andrew Weissman? The U.S. Attorney's Office is a component of the DOJ. The Department of Justice is for prosecuting civilians in the United States, not military. Why do we have military assets interfacing with me and doing all this kind of stuff? I don't really know, but...
Can you play 30 seconds or so of your conversation with him in the park and maybe set it up and explain where were you and how the hell do you bump into Felix Sater outdoors in New York City? How does this come about? Before you play the 30 seconds or so of this conversation.
That was carefully arranged, and we need to go through all of this stuff on this Twitter timeline here. Not all of it, but a lot of it, because it's pretty important and pretty crazy what happened. But this was years of trying to get Felix Sater to speak to me. It took a lot of work to do it. And what basically happened was, I've gone down to this courthouse, I don't know how many times, but it's very difficult to get in. Very difficult to even get to an area where you can speak to anybody of any importance. And I just...
This is New York City. This is New York City, right?
Yeah. That's the Superior
Federal Court?
No.
Superior Court?
State Court.
No?
Yeah. State Court.
Okay.
And so, but this is where Trump's trial is going on, and it's locked down like Fort Knox. And so just one of the days that I went there, for whatever reason, I guess Trump had left already, the cops left, and this area was open, and Andrew Giuliani was still there. And I went over to him, and I've met him a few times now. I would say, I don't think he knows my name, but he basically is like, hey, buddy.
He recognizes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he recognizes you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he was talking to me, and, I just basically said to him, Michael Cohen is an undercover FBI asset. And I didn't even know then what I know now, because since then, we've been hearing on the news and also in Congress, Michael Cohen's former attorney, this guy named Robert Costello, has come forward, and he said all these different things that Michael Cohen told him. And what's interesting is, I believe there's an angle there that Mr. Costello hasn't seen yet. He was the target of Lawfare. Because it's interesting. Costello, we'll talk about all of this when we get to that. We're going to have a very, very good sponsor-exclusive show today when people join us on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen. Odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsourcethetruth. Because what he's done is he's basically come forward and corroborated essentially exactly what I was saying. When you are a billionaire, it's a fairly common occurrence that wackos come out of the woodwork and contact your attorney saying, hey, I'm going to sue your guy, claiming all kinds of lies. And the attorney says it's not true, and the other attorney says, well, my client thinks it is, and we think we can prove it in court. And it's an extortion plan to try to get money from the billionaire. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that was actually happening. I think Michael Cohen opportunistically decided that that was going to happen. And he called this guy, Robert Costello, because Michael Cohen, this is a piece that I had missed before I watched these interviews several times. Michael Cohen had a relationship with the law partner at the law firm that Costello is at. So Cohen contacts that law firm through the partner. They're corresponding by email that Michael Cohen's house has been raided by the FBI. So Cohen calls Costello and the law partner to a meeting at the Regency Hotel, where Costello has just
representing Cohen at this time.
Not yet.
Yes or no?
It's the first meeting where he says, hey, I got a problem with the FBI. Come meet me at the hotel. I need to hire an attorney. So yes, kind of
rough and tough. Rough and tough. What year was this with Cohen? Cohen reaches out to
2018. I think he said it's April 2018. So this is, again, now remember, Trump is president. Their plan to get these screwy emails to Charles, that was right after. So they start off with, we're just going to get an FBI investigation going, and no one's going to vote for the guy who's under the investigation of the FBI. And then that screws up. And remember, on December 28th, Ben Wittes sends the email to James Comey, and that kicks off this new phase of Get Trump, where they're now trying to jam up with Lawfare various lower-level players. I've had a bit of a breakthrough on this, John, and we've been talking about this for a while, so it's good. When people watch Fox News or whatever, a lot of people now are talking about Lawfare, but they're talking about it sort of like a buzzword or like a verb. Right? Like it's something you do to somebody. You're just going to like drain their money with Lawfare. And that's true. That is a component of it. But I want people to understand that this is a system that was codified by an Air Force general. That guy, Charles Dunlap Jr., codified this and said it's a 21st century method of warfare. So I want to start to really identify components of this so we can understand what we're talking about. And what we're dealing with here in this specific case, my case and what I'm about to explain, this is the Caproni method. And I say that because it came out of the Eastern District of New York, where she was in charge of the Organized Crime Division of the U.S. Attorney's Office. And this is the method that they used to bring down the mob, where basically they would, work their way up the ladder. They basically selected who were the criminals they were going to allow to do crimes and look the other way, and who were the criminals they were going to take out. And so they're using these same methods now where, when I am in the park down at Collect Pond Park saying, hey, you work for the FBI, you work for the NYPD, etc. That guy, Ezra Frisch, he said something very interesting to me at the height of the moment where he was becoming uncomfortable, right before him and his stupid partner left. I said, I think you work for the FBI, because every time I see your stupid face, you're doing something stupid. He got nervous and he said to me, well, who do you work for? Because all these guys think we're operatives. They think we are operatives, and just like they're working for something, somebody, they think we're working for somebody, and they're trying to figure out, like the other day, Brett asked you, who are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Who you with? Yeah. Who are you really? Yeah.
They want to know who you work for. So they think...
All right, we're running out of time.
Wait, let me just wrap this up real quick, because I got to tell people what we're going to dig into on the sponsor-exclusive segment. They think Charles Ortel is an operative, a pro-Trump operative. Peter Smith is an operative. Jerry Corsi, operative. Roger Stone, he kind of is an operative. So my point is, their idea was, we're going to jam up these low-level operatives, and, we'll get Peter Smith to give these 33,000 stolen emails to Charles. Then when the FBI meets Charles at the Roosevelt Hotel, and they're like, oh, we have but Charles never took the emails. This was their plan, but it didn't work. They wanted to say, oh, you have these emails. These came from Russia. We're doing not a criminal investigation. We're doing a counterintelligence investigation, and now you're jammed up. And then we want you to, you could just say, you could plea, you sign a plea deal with us. Here's what you're going to do, operative that we have jammed up. You're looking at 12 years in jail for this national security violation of stolen Russian whatever. But
or
if you sign this plea deal that just says you lied to the FBI and it's 1 year charge and we'll give you probation, you'll be out of jail on Saturday, you just have to tell us that you lied and that Trump did X, Y, and Z. And then we're going to use that testimony against him. And they wanted to work up through the ladder. So what I figured out from watching Mr. Costello's interviews is that they knew, just like they could look at my social media profile and know, this guy knows Lee Stranahan. Let's dangle with George. Hey, who knows Lee Stranahan? And let's see if he takes the bait. They said, this guy knows Rudy Giuliani. Let's go to him and say, Michael Cohen is jammed up and needs an attorney, and we'll draw him into this meeting. And when people join us on the sponsor exclusive segment in 5 minutes, we're going to go into who all these other people are because it's stunning. And I'm going to explain exactly what I've figured out with this guy, Robert Costello, Michael Cohen. I'm ready to say he is an undercover operative. And
I believe so. I'll tell you what, I'm ready to tell you, I think we have significant evidence that Patrick Byrne is as well. I'll show that to the patrons when we get to patron only. And you're going to play a little bit of that clip of the conversation of you and Felix Sater in the park, the Russian real estate developer that was about to partner with Trump on the Moscow Trump Tower. You corner him in the park and the guy talks to you. I want to hear what he had to say. Share that with our patrons in just 5 minutes. I'm John Cullen. This has been Web of Deception. We'll be right back in 5 minutes with our patrons. Thanks for joining.
What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call a man a freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion, yeah. I feel like an astronaut in the ocean, yeah. What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call a man a freeze. When these people talk too much, put that shit in slow motion, yeah. I feel like an astronaut. She says that I'm cool. I'm like, yeah, that's true. I believe in G.O.D. Don't believe in T.H.O.D. She keep playing me down. I'ma play her for fun. You don't really know my mental. Let me give you the picture like stencil. Falling down in the drought. No flow rain was pouring down. See, that pain was all around. See, my mom was kinda loud. She didn't know which way to turn. Flow was cool, but I still felt burned. Energy up, you can feel my surge. I'ma kill everything like this bird. What you know about